faking illness, all these types of things, because that shows up quite a bit in primary care practice. And then this afternoon we'll have a case presentation. Dr. Tess has put together some things for anxiety, for insomnia, for phobias, and one other thing, maybe I can't remember, maybe panic disorder. And we'll be looking at that, and I will, after we finish that, we'll clarify for you what I want you to know from last time. Pretty much, just even now, I can tell you what you're going to have to bring forward is you're going to have to bring forward your antidepressant information, because as you have seen, they are pervasively used for all kinds of disorders, and I'm not going to snip that off as we look at different things and not worry about it. And honestly, it is something you need to repetitively look at because it is so common. The selection, I am generally underwhelmed with what I see people doing. I don't think they know them as well as they need to. And you need to be very familiar so that you don't make bad selections, or that you know how to change selections, and that you can evaluate responses in light of what should be known about that category. It'll be very helpful. It will save you referrals to other people and frustrations if you just know the basics well. And that's what we're going after. Okay? Let me get over here and see what we can do. Okay, dependent personality disorder. This is actually a pretty good little picture for that. I need you so much closer. Does anybody know anybody with dependent personality disorder? I think they're clingy. Okay, clingy people. Do y'all know clingy people?
Yes.
And what do they make you feel like? It's like, get away from me. You know, I have learned patience. Okay, I can do patience, but when I start getting a sense that I won't just get away from me, just stop it, then I start to think, well, you might be somewhere over here. So that's kind of my clue. But I have to kind of second guess myself, because the impatient very quickly feel like everybody's a dependent personality, and they probably are not. We're probably a highly independent personality disorder. Okay, so here's the pervasive, excessive need to be taken care of. So you can see how these people actually fall into medical practice fairly easy, because they need somebody who's going to be the authority figure that will solve their problems and take care of them all throughout. They can be submissive, and they can be clingy, and they fear separation. They're just, don't leave me, what am I going to do if you're not here type people. They cannot they have a hard time making decisions without the advice and reassurance from that person, you know, that they're clinging to at the moment. They need others to assume, they need others to assume responsibility for big decisions. They have a really hard time deciding, should I buy this car or that car? Should I live here? Should I live there? What do you think about so-and-so? Should I go out with that person? It's just that kind of a thing. Has difficulty expressing disagreement, because they're afraid if they disagree with the person who helps them make all these decisions that they will leave them. And then where will they be? Nobody will help them think. They have difficulty initiating projects or doing things on their own because they lack self-confidence in their judgment or their abilities. That's why they always need you to tell them stuff, to kind of help them do stuff, to think through stuff, because they're not sure for themselves. They go to excessive lengths to obtain nurturance and support from others, to the point of volunteering to do things that are unpleasant. Okay? Sometimes as a faculty member, at least in this role, when students really kind of want to help you do stuff and hang around more than what's kind of normal, then you kind of may think maybe there's a little element of some of that. I'll do it, I'll help you, and it's kind of like, okay, you know, I need the help, but sometimes it's a little bit beyond what's reasonable or what you expect. Feels uncomfortable or helpless when alone, because now they really have to kind of, they're left to themselves, and they don't really have a lot of confidence in themselves, so that makes them anxious. They urgently seek another relationship if their close one goes away. So if, you know, I think I've got an example in here of a healthcare provider that if that provider leaves, then they're going to try to find somebody else to attach to. because Dr. Smith always did this, Dr. Smith always did that, Dr. Smith helped me with this, and so they will jump on. If you're the one who ends up being the next one, they'll jump on that, and then you kind of feel the tentacles going on you and just start to suck you in. Okay, I used to always describe that with patients, you know, the ones who just put those tentacles in, just suck the life out of you, and you just have, as soon as you feel the tentacle begin to attach, quick, 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 before it's too late. All right, they're unrealistically occupied with fears of being left to take care of him or herself alone. Okay, now this is just a short little bitty clip, and I'll tell you what, from this one, okay, you tell me your reaction to this.
Jerry, I don't know what to do. No, serious, I don't know what to do. Well, there are two outfits here. One's red, one's kind of, you know, kind of olive green. I'm not sure exactly which one I should get.
Click.
Why don't you come, you know, I'm at the mall, or at this shop. I'm at the, well, I'm in JCPenney. Yeah. Just come to the women's section and then just tell me which set looks better on me, okay? Okay, because I don't know exactly what to do. They both look good, but I can't afford both. Okay. All right. Hurry, because it's, yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Are you going to get in the car and drive down there?
No.
Okay. That is so. Okay. That is not, that seems extreme, like she wanted this person to come and they were actually come, and they probably had a relationship for a while. You might actually find yourself going if you had this person that you kind of had some need to be with also. But you see it with patients, the way they will deal with you is they need some help. They will call late in the day, you're ready to go, they need you to do something. It's something that they should have been responsible to do, but they're irresponsible. But they need you, and you've helped me, and they just kind of draw in. And so you end up having to stay late if you can't set a boundary and let them suffer, you know, at some level. And that is a dependent personality type, and they are fairly easy to recognize. Okay, it's not that common, but it's maybe more common in women than men, but it's not certain in statistics if that's true or not. So what do you do with an avoidant personality disorder in practice? Respect their feelings of attachment. You can't really beat them down, you know, with their overcleaning ability. It's too destructive for them. I think it destroys their esteem. But be careful when encouraging the patient to change the dynamics of an abusive relationship. If you have somebody in a bad relationship and you kind of start learning about that and they're having trouble, you have to be careful how you approach it and what you suggest as solutions, because if they are in a relationship where they're very dependent, but the person they're depending on is not always really that good to them, then you have to figure out what are you going to do, because if you pull them off that person, you may be the next person that they're going to stick to more heavily, and you have to have plans for how it actually unfolds itself over time. When medically ill, they may become frustrated that they're not being helped. They really are very demanding. They can be demanding. I need this, I don't know what to do, what do I do next? Be active in the treatment planning. You want them to be involved. What can you do? You have to push them towards making decisions and giving them confidence that their decision is okay, and just do it, and do it, and do it. Anybody have any avoidant personality disorder stories that they would share? Anybody that's willing to talk about what somebody has actually wanted them to do for them that you thought was kind of crazy or too much?
It happens all the time, I can say that.
Okay, and can you give us one story, Ron?
I mean,
Or in
it's pretty much
generality?
exactly like you said, like the provider left, and basically like, well, you can go see this guy, and they come see you, and like if you even say you're booked up the next day, and you're like, well, what if I, and like what if I need to come in? That well, you're not scheduled until next week, so you can make it through. I don't know if I can make it through the weekend. And it's just this whole back and forth. You have to figure out a way to deal with it.
Yeah. We had in some ways, it comes across as a manipulation, and maybe I would describe as a manipulation. We would have people come in and they would want to be seen in advance of a scheduled appointment time.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't be sick, really. I mean, no more than usual. They're just the same chronic disorder kind of rolling along, and they're out there and they want you to see them, and they're oh, if I don't get seen, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's just so much mess out there in the front area. And after you figure out, maybe the first time you're not sure if this is real or not, and you may see them, but then that encourages them to do it again. And so what you eventually have to do is train your patients and train them. I'm unable to see you now. We can see you here. We can see you there. If there's a cancellation this afternoon, you want to sit in the waiting area, I'm okay with that, but that's it. And then just stay that way. Now, the hard problem is you always have front people at the front desk that you're working with. They're the ones who get the brunt of it because they're up on top of them. And you need somebody to kind of screen folks out. So your front desk person is always a very critical person to practice because they have to be skillful and deft but definitive. And if they're waffly and mushy, you'll have all these people hanging all over them. So it really does take a little bit of everybody to make it work out right. And you can't buckle or break. Because if you buckle or break, it just makes it worse, okay? As a practitioner. Now, as a person, in a personal relationship, you have to be a little more careful with that. The next one, obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. This is to be distinguished from obsessive-compulsive disorder. This is a personality disorder, so there's a lot of commonality, but a few other little features that are maybe a little bit different. A pervasive pattern of preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, and mental and interpersonal control at the expense of flexibility, openness, and efficiency. So orderliness, perfectionism, mental and interpersonal control. You will feel like if I don't do it this way, they're going to get upset. I have to do it this way. So it's not only, it's how you think, it's how you act. They are on top of it. And if it doesn't really kind of fall that way, they start to get anxious or demanding. It's like, okay, you are too much for me. Okay, but it's a personality type that you do see. That have 4 more of these. Preoccupied with details, rules, lists, orders, organization, schedules, to the extent that the major point of the activity is lost. It's almost follow the rules beyond, but we're doing the rules so we get to point A. They don't even care about how you get to A, just follow the rules. It's like, we don't need to go to A anymore. Follow the rules. They're focusing on it. They show perfectionism that interferes with task completion. So much so they almost get paralyzed. They can't make it perfect, so they just don't ever finish it. Or I need more time. They can't take on something new because it's still not perfect. It'll show up in the workplace a lot like that. And if you have perfectionistic tendencies, and I'm not saying any of y'all are OCD personality disorder, but a lot of people in this room have obsessive-compulsive tendencies in studying how you do things. Your biggest problem, and no doubt about it, when you go into practice, you're going to be gut-wrenched because you're going to know all these things that you want to do with somebody, and you're not going to have the time to do them. So you're going to have to learn how to prioritize and seek perfectionism in prioritization. Seek perfectionism in how, in finding the best solution and finding an efficient way to get that done for a problem, not the problems of the patient. And it will frustrate you. I'm telling you, you are going to suffer the most that way until you figure out another way to frame your reality. And you'll do it. You'll do it. I'm just saying it just won't. I can't. They didn't give me the objectives and the time, whatever it is, like go, 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 go. So, okay, and you'll leave and you'll go, I didn't do a good job. Well, you've done fine for what was required at the time. do what my mentors told me, you have to do the best you can with the time you have. And so that's the perfectionism, is doing the best you can with the time you have. They're excessively devoted to work and productivity to the exclusion of leisure activities and friendships. They might go in and work on Saturday. They might go in and work all day Saturday. They might go in and work on Sunday. They might have a little bit of time with you, but they may not have much time at all because they have to have the perfect paper to go in. The project has to be just right, and they will work all the time. They're over-conscientious, scrupulous, and inflexible about matters of morality, ethics, or values. There's a way to do something, there's a way to believe about something, and that is it. The end. You're wrong, this is the way it is, and they cannot change on it. No, they alienate people, who don't want to believe like they do. They're unable to discard worn out or worthless objects, even when they have no sentimental value. That is not my problem. I can discard stuff. Some people cannot discard stuff, and their house has a lot of stuff in it. You remember hoarding was part of the obsessive-compulsive, one of the obsessive-compulsive disorders specific. That's that piece of that. Okay. They're reluctant to delegate tasks or to work with others unless they submit to exactly his or her way of doing things. They're really kind of make themselves, they create a living hell. If you get into a job where there's so much stuff that you can't possibly get all done, you have to have a crew and you have to know how to delegate stuff out. They will have a hard time delegating stuff out because they can do it better than you. And they will have done it better than anybody they see doing it, so they can't give it to you, so they have to hold it. But when there's an overwhelming amount of stuff to do, where does that end? And if you did give it away to somebody, could you be satisfied with what they did, or would it drive you crazy that it wasn't perfect when they turned it in? So, just little things to think about. They adopt miserly spending style towards self and others. Money is viewed as something to be hoarded for future catastrophe, so they might be penny pinchers and not overly generous. They show rigidity and stubbornness in their as a personal characteristic. Well, look, y'all will recognize this.
Good. What is it? Bacon, lettuce, and tomato with mayonnaise on pumpernickel toast. You just... I'm sorry I'm late.
Wipe your feet.
What?
You know what's good for you, you better wipe your feet.
How's the game going? Hey, what happened to the apartment?
It's been given the good housekeeping seal of approved deal touch.
Hey, all right, Annie. What?
What? Anybody in? We're playing.
Cold glass of beer for Roy. Thank you. Where's your coaster? My what? Coaster. A little round thing that goes under the glass. I think I better.
Yeah. I know I'm going to be up here.
Let's try to use the coaster. Scotch, a little bit of water.
Scotch and a little bit of water, and I have my coaster.
I don't want to be a pest, but you know what white glasses do.
You leave little rings on the table.
Little rings on the table.
And we know our little rings on the table.
And we have a nice warm sandwich for Benny. Oh, gee, it smells good. What is it? Bacon, lettuce, and tomato with mayonnaise on pumpernickel toast. You mean you just made it?
1, 2, 3.
You put in toast and cook bacon just for me?
Don't like it, I'll make you a meatloaf. Takes them 5 minutes.
You know I love to eat over the dish. I just vacuum the rug. Hey, Oscar, what did you want?
2 3.5-minute eggs and some petit fours.
Wait, oh, double gin and tonic, right? Who turned off the dehumidifier?
What?
The dehumidifier. Fellas, I asked you, don't play with this thing. I'm trying to get some of the grime out of the air.
Okay, that's The Odd Couple. That was the original movie, and y'all know there was a TV series, but it was before your time. And do you know who was playing that role? That's kind of like Jack Lemmon. Do you know who played it in the TV? It was Tony Randall, who's now, they're both dead. But they're just, I'm old. I got old. Does anybody know The Odd Couple? from looking at old stuff. Okay, it's this guy. So they just show you all the little stuff, preoccupation with details, doing dinners and dishes over again, devoted to work more than people. He was divorced from his wife. Problems discarding old objects, casserole dishes. It just goes on and on about stuff he was doing. So it's actually a pretty good example of that. Okay. So it's more common than you think, and it's more common in men than in women. Yeah, she said that's surprising. I think that might be surprising, but men are more likely to be a perfectionist than women, to have the personality disorder. I'm not saying that women don't have perfectionism as part of a constellation of just normal range. Let me watch out where I'm going there. But not a disorder. How do you interact with people with personality, obsessive-compulsive personality disorder? Give precise and rational explanations as to make sense. Value efficiency and punctuality. They'll be looking at a watch on you sometimes, and they kind of want you to get on with it. So because they got things to do, and there's a lot lined up, you got to get organized. And I've heard that. Thank you. They'll run you. Medical illnesses create a disruption in their life. They're everything perfect. They're orderly lifestyle, sense of control. You have to acknowledge the importance of work, but point out how avoiding treatments may have harmful consequences. There are people who may actually miss an appointment if they think something else has to be done to be put into order, as opposed to stopping that and going to have a chronic care visit. And when they sit down, they often will tell you things they've read, and they will critique you in your plan. And did you know this? And I thought it was usually recommended that you do things this way because they're going to be on top of it, and so they will jump you. And then when they do, so you have to be fairly open and kind of fluid. And when people come at you and say this, you go, yes, that's really good. I can see you read some things. That's impressive. And just let them go with it. If they're going to read all the stuff in the world and have perfect care, knock yourself out. I mean, I just don't fight with them. Just let it go. Allow them to control his or her care as much as possible. Just let them have it. Provide them with information. Don't struggle over power. Just give it away. I'm telling you, if you want to have power and they want to have power, it's just wasting time. Let them have it. Let them have it and leave the office with it. Be your all-powerful good. Go away. Understand their need for orderly control. Okay, we've seen all of our 10 personality disorders. How do you treat them? You don't. They are mostly untreatable. It's not like drug therapy fixes a personality disorder. They're mostly untreatable. You should focus on retaining a patient-clinician relationship despite their social roadblocks from their personality disorder. So your job is always to find a way to relate to the person who sits across from you. I think I've said before, you want to discover who's in the other chair. So just kind of look at it. Sometimes it will be a personality type that you enjoy, and sometimes it will be a personality type that you don't enjoy. But you just have to know who it is. And then be okay with them. Let them exist for who they are. Work with it. Be proficient and great in identifying types and what they need so that you can be effective. Your job is to be effective for them, not to let them make you happy. You know, they all have to make you feel good. Don't worry about that. Just, I'm happy when I leave and everybody's gotten kind of what they needed on their terms. And then they say, we love you. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going home and having a drink. Not really. That's another disorder. Not going there.
Do we talk to you about it?
Yes, when we get to addiction tomorrow, with the substance and addiction, we'll talk about that. Oh man, let me come back here. One thing that has been looked at, cognitive behavioral therapy, has been looked at for people with borderline personality and might be useful. Okay, might. You will see pharmacotherapy used in people with personality disorders, but again, it's kind of focused on certain symptoms. If they have an anxiety that goes with their disorder, if they have a depression or social anxiety or psychosis, then you would manage it. Most of you are going to be dealing with anxiety and maybe depression, social anxiety, or if it's a feature of that personality type. Okay, Let's look at a few of these little snippets, because I'll give you test questions kind of like this. I'll kind of write you out a little scenario, and you have to tell me what it is, or what the personality type is. So here you go. You read it, and I'll give you just 30 seconds, and tell me which one you want. Okay. How many people think it's A? When you think histrionic, what are you looking for? Wild dress, pay attention to me, exaggerated emotional responses. Okay. What about narcissistic? Y'all like that? That might be. Why would you pick that one?
It's all about, yeah.
Yes.
It's a top-rated medical school.
Yes, the narcissists are always better than everybody else, and they deserve to associate with the best, and you can understand that because I'm the best, and everybody can see that. It's just the way it is. Okay, so that's probably it. Is this a paranoid personality? No. Is this a borderline personality? Not enough information to call that. The only thing you can really call it is this. Okay? Take a chance, look at that. Okay, how many people think it's A? Okay, how many people think it's B? How many people think it's C? How many people think it's D? Okay, why do you think the D people, why is it D?
Yeah. She's only had 2 dates with this guy and she's being super clingy.
Or the only doctor who ever understood her problems. All the other doctors were terrible. They didn't understand my issues.
Could it be borderline?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, I'm just flipping a coin on this one because I think it actually could be both ways. I probably will not use this one, a question like this, but the reason I'm telling you is you have to have enough information in there to really tell. It could be, you know, borderline people, when they are not with people they had before, they hate them for what they've done, and then they immediately attach very strongly to the person that they've got. The fact this person tried to commit suicide, there's something about that person that's not quite it's kind of an over-exaggerated response. Hard to say if this is manipulation, you know, at this level. You just don't know. Dependent, could be that. You'd have to, if you remove some of this other stuff out of here, if they've taken this suicide piece out and some other stuff, I might be more happy with dependent, you know, and especially if they had a provider and they very quickly went to another provider because they need the help. If it was written a different way, I'd probably think of it more that way. Yeah.
So, borderline personality disorder needs to be self-destructive. Would you consider, from what we know, a one suicide attempt to be enough of a self-destructive?
Yeah, that's why I think it's hard to throw borderline out of this, because that is self-destructive. If I wanted to get dependent personality, I would not have put that self-destructive move in there. I would have just left it alone. I'd have made it more clingy, dependent. I might have even used the word, you know, patient makes you feel, you know, very clingy, or says, I really need help. I've lost my other provider, and I felt like I needed to have help almost immediately because I have problems I can't solve by myself. That's dependent. Okay, that'd be more distinctive. So this one, I'm not trying to scare y'all, please. I will write it so we're clear. But what's important, I put this in here because it makes you start looking at what are the elements. Pull out the elements. Okay, self-destructive, quickly moving to other help. That's why it's a split between us two. I will not leave you something like that. You're going to know what it is by definition. Try this one out. Immediately, this ought to jump at you. This person's already looking like something. Okay, so what is that? Terrible pain, must be dying, all wild in dress. So what do you think that is? That's histrionic. It's certainly not avoidant, and I don't see obsessive compulsive in there, and I don't see paranoid in there, so that's what that is, more than likely. I have given, this is just for you to look at for fun time. Here's I know that sounds crazy. Here's Krista laughing at me. When do you have fun in the PA program? We all have fun. Okay, there's a video here. It's a review of the personality types for medical boards. It's actually kind of funny, but it does kind of run through all of them. So you might want to look at that, kind of get things more fixed in your mind. Okay, any question about personality disorders? Yes?
I was gonna say there are specialty programs for borderline personality disorders. There's one at North Care, and I think there's one in Tulsa. And they've actually
Is it
got,
Laureate?
I don't think it's at Laureate, it's at a different one. But because of how high stress and how destructive they are. But there's also a new therapy that's evidence-based that's come out that's for them, and it's DBT, dialectic behavior therapy. So it's pretty similar to CBT, but there's definitely resources for them out there.
Thank you for sharing that, and I do think it is as you can tell, it was one of those where when you're with the borderline personality person, their life is a mess, but they mess up a lot of people in their sphere. They cannot help. They will wear you out as a provider, and they will have worn their families out, and the family may not have anything to do with them because they are just finally going to have to be away from that insanity all the time. Okay, let's move on to other themes.